Hi, I'm Michelle Talbert, the host of the podcast Her Power Hustle and the author of Why White Guys Having Fun Make Great Mentors for Black Women, the ebook to which this is also attached as a bonus. So thank you so much for purchasing the ebook. Thank you so much for being part of the Her Power Hustle community. And thank you so much for being open to the great information that is about to be shared with you. Following our conversations that I had with some pretty amazing guys, specifically Guy Kawasaki, Dave McClure, Michael Simmons, and Peter Shankman. So what will follow immediately after my voice, it will be an explanation, also in my voice, of what prompted this series of interviews with white guys having fun. Let's put it that way. So please tune in. You'll hear the explanation, and then we'll get right into the next interview. Thanks so much. You can learn more at herpowerhustle.com. And of course, tune into the podcast, Her Power Hustle.
There's a book by Reginald F. Lewis I mentioned in the email that I sent to you, and it's called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And it was really about his, right? Isn't that amazing? And it's about his journey as an entrepreneur and how he built himself up in the 80s and 90s. And for me personally, I'm an African-American woman, but I've had mentors that look like the rainbow. And I was recently back at my undergrad speaking with students of color, and I said, every mentor you have is not going to look like you. And it hit me, hey, why don't we talk to a bunch of white guys, and I'll get back to why you're one of the white guys. Why don't we talk to a bunch of white guys and see what they have to say about mentorship and be mentored by people who don't look like us? So really what this is a series of conversations that I'm having with you and Pat Flynn and Guy Kawasaki and Peter Shankman about different aspects of your career and how others can learn from you. So it's like a master class of sorts. And so it's not a show per se right now. Right now it's just me saying, if I could put together my ultimate board of advisors to mentor me and others who look like me or a little bit like me, who would be on that panel? And you were the number one email. So welcome, Guy Kawasaki. As you know, this is a series of conversations with men who I sought out because I thought they really represented some interesting aspects of entrepreneurship and life generally. So as part of this series, as our listeners know, we're speaking with Pat Flynn and Peter Shankman, Guy Kawasaki, yourself, obviously, and some really great folks based on a book that I read a long time ago by the late Reginald F. Lewis called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And as someone who went to college and law school at predominantly white universities and just living life generally in a multicultural world, all of my mentors didn't look like me. And I find that a lot of folks reach out to folks who look like them or think like them or have similar backgrounds to them. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be fun to talk to a bunch of white and maybe not only white guys, your case in general, right, Guy?
Yeah, I don't want to shake you up, but I'm not white.
I know, but you're having fun, so we're going to talk to you
sure.
anyway. So I'm going to do your quick intro, and we're just going to get into the meat of our little 15 minutes together.
Okay.
So Guy Kawasaki is the chief evangelist of Canva, which as a podcaster and a blogger I love. It's a graphics design online service that democratizes graphics, and we're going to talk about that a little later. He's also an executive fellow at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley. Formerly, he was an advisor to the Motorola business unit of Google and chief evangelist of Apple twice. He is also the author of 12 books, including APE, Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur, What the Plus About Google, and Enchantment. Guy has a BA from Stanford, an MBA from UCLA, as well as an honorary doctorate from Babson College. He also had a little stint in law school, which we'll touch upon as well. So Guy Kawasaki, the not white, non-white guy having fun. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining and sharing your story. So we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
What is an evangelist? Because I think a lot of folks hear the word evangelist and they immediately think about religion or religious fervor. And you are an evangelist for brands and have been for decades. So talk to us about that, because I think you were the first person, I may be wrong, but I really believe you're the person who is the embodiment of a brand evangelist. So what does that mean, and why do you call yourself that?
It means, well, it comes from the Greek word to bring the good news. And so that's what an evangelist does. Typically, it was used in a religious context of bringing the good news of, Christ, or bringing the good news of some religion. In my case, it's bringing the good news first of Macintosh, how Macintosh would make people more creative and more productive. So the good juxtaposition is, what's an evangelist versus a salesperson? So an evangelist views his or her product as good news that makes people's lives better. A salesperson is typically trying to make quota. And
Oh, wow.
that's a very different orientation.
I love that. And you really, that was cutting edge thinking back then, right? To think about it from that perspective, or maybe not.
It was cutting edge at the time. There, to my knowledge, there were no other secular evangelists. Everybody else was either in sales or in the church. So
right.
there wasn't a position like this in the middle that did both.
Well, I have to read a quote that I've seen that is attributed to you, which is, "When I saw what a Macintosh could do, the clouds parted and the angels started singing. For 4 years, I evangelized Macintosh to software and hardware developers and led the charge against worldwide domination by IBM. I also met my wife's death at Apple during this time. Apple has been very good to me." So it sounds like, although it may not have been religious, it may have been at least spiritual.
It was a good experience, yes. No complaints here.
Definitely. Well, really the reason I tapped you, each of the folks who I'm speaking with is to me, someone who could mentor on a lot of different topics, but just to narrow the conversation, for us, I wanted to talk about passion, bliss, and pivots maybe. And so to me, I feel that looking at your career trajectory, you went from, let's say law school. For how long? Was it a week you were in law school? 2 weeks?
Approximately 2 weeks. I've tried to blot that memory out. So
Well, I call myself a recovering attorney after almost 10 years of practice,
yes,
and now I'm in live with it.
It took you 10 years. I figured it out in 2 weeks.
So just show off. Go ahead and show off for me. Thanks a lot. But, following your bliss, you went from, a couple of weeks of law school to MBA and being in it, being in an environment with business folks, to counting diamonds, to going to work, for Macintosh. Talk about, each step in the journey and how you got closer to your bliss maybe. Did you know at each step that you were saying, I'm making a change so that I could follow something that makes me happier?
I wish I could tell you it was that rational. No. I was making it up as I was going, and my belief is that is basically true of everybody. After the fact, I guess you could look back and say, yeah, I knew exactly what I was doing, but you're probably lying.
Who would do that?
Yeah, right.
So you also, aside from being a brand evangelist, ended up becoming a brand yourself. Now, how do you adjust to being a brand after being a brand evangelist? Do you look at Guy Kawasaki, the brand, like so many of your followers and devotees do?
No, I don't. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a chief evangelist for a company. I don't hold myself out as a guru, there's no Guy Kawasaki courses, Guy Kawasaki conferences, all that kind of stuff. I just don't do that. That's not what I'm about.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's probably why you resonate so well with folks as well. Just writing when you wrote What the Plus.
Yeah.
You did that out of love for Google, right? You just really fell in love
absolutely.
with the product yourself. And I think that is something that is very genuine about you, and again, like I said, resonates with folks. So do you feel that do you advise folks, speak from the heart and the rest will follow, or what's sort of your ethos around that?
Honestly, I'm not that touchy-feely kind of guy, that's like telling people to pursue their bliss and all that kind of stuff. Seriously, I think that's a lot of, what? Uh,
Well, then what is it then? So what is it? You wake up and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Is it money? I mean, because you can't just say it's just living life, or can you? You just do what you feel like doing? I mean,
it's so different. I mean, it's so different for everybody because it's depending on where you're coming from. And listen, some people, they want to change the world via nonprofit. Some people want to make a computer. Some people want to make a phone. Some people want to make a website, and some people want to make a school or a church. I don't judge that way. I mean, at the
right.
end of the day, you either make the world a better place or you don't. And is the Larry Ellison a better person than you because you were a teacher and he started Oracle? Not in my book.
Right. Right. So, but you use words like democratization. So talk to us about that. And you can talk specifically with respect to Canva, because I think that is a great example of sort of democratization in the way that you use it and
Yes, so
leveling the playing.
one of the mega trends that I particularly love is democratization. So Google democratized information, Apple democratized computing, eBay democratized commerce, Etsy democratized crafts. I'm into democracy. And Canva, I believe, democratizes design because now, without a lot of training and without buying expensive software, many people who could have not designed something before can. And that is huge. I think that in a world that has so much text, if you can add visual marketing and visual graphics to your post, to your blog, to your email, to your everything, you have an advantage. And so this is what Canva enables you to do.
I love that you said that, because I was going to ask you, why is it so important, graphically speaking? So in terms of mentors for yourself, have you had many mentors or specific mentors that you could look to along your journey?
I've had a couple of mentors in my career. One was in the jewelry business before I got into technology, and he really taught me how to sell. And one was the general counsel of Apple. His name is Al Eisenstadt. He also helped me, shall I say, navigate the halls of Apple. So those
Mm-hmm.
are the two principal people, I believe, who were my mentors. Yeah.
And what would you say to folks who are looking for mentors in whatever field or whatever need they have? Do you have words of wisdom when folks ask you, how do I find a mentor? What's a good way to reach out to a mentor?
I think it's all about, networking and meeting as many people as possible, and most importantly, not being afraid of asking. I think many people don't ask. And guess what? If you don't ask, guess what happens? You don't get.
That's right.
Uh,
And speaking of which, and we didn't rehearse this ahead of time, tell us the story of how the folks at Canva got you on board, because no one heard of Canva. I won't say no one heard of it, but you definitely took Canva's marketing to a different level. That's for sure. How did they?
they saw that I was using their product. The person who helps me with social media and I were using it, and so they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to meet with them. And the next thing you know, I was working for them.
And that was it. Just on social
It,
media, they're like, "Hey,
it
Guy, how are you doing?"
more or less, yeah. I mean, seriously.
No, seriously, I'm laughing because people don't realize how simple it is. Exactly how I got you to do this interview with me
Yeah,
was I
right,
sent you
right.
an email. And
Yeah.
if you don't ask, you don't get. And I think a lot of people feel that the air is so rarefied, right, that you're breathing up there, that we can't contact you. And I really, appreciate that you walk your talk of democratization and being accessible and leveling the playing field. If you had to leave a legacy, and I know you don't do the woo-woo thing, but I'm still going to ask you a woo-woo question.
Yeah.
If you had to think for just a second about what your legacy in business would be, what is it?
It would be that I empowered people, that with my writing, my speaking, my evangelism, sometimes even my investment, I enable people to make the world a better place.
I love that. Do you feel that you've pivoted in moving from, because, people like to use that word, right? That's the word du jour. Pivot and
Yeah.
be agile and look when you're failing and make the move. And do you feel that you've taken chances that are pivots, or do you think that they're just sort of the natural progression of this was interesting to me?
Uh, I would say that, that's a continuum. It's not pivot or this is interesting to me, sort of a natural progression. But on that spectrum, I am much closer to it was natural, just a progression, accidental, unplanned, whatever. I never sat down and said, okay, Guy, you were successful in computers, so now you're going to make yourself successful in the internet. And then I didn't sit down again and say, okay, Guy, you're successful on the internet. Now you're going to make yourself successful in social media. That internal or external conversation never took place. It just, I was into computers, and all of a sudden, people were using computers to access the internet. And then I was on the internet, and all of a sudden, people started really being active in Twitter, and then Google Plus and Facebook, and all that other stuff. And so there was never these hard moments where I had this aha, like, Guy, you need to go from telegraph to telephone. It wasn't that kind of leap for me. It was just
Hmm.
natural progression all the way.
What interests you? Do you see anything sort of on the horizon that is interesting you, or starting to look like an inkling of something that would be interesting to you as a next step?
I'm like so wrapped up in this step that
Yeah,
uh, I
that
don't.
makes
I'm not a futurist. I don't consider myself a visionary. You know what I'm saying? So I just take it one day at a time.
and and so with that, where do you hope to take Canva? Because I'm going to tell you, like I said, I use it every single week, actually twice a week, putting out 2 shows a week. Canva is how we do the graphic and our album cover every single week.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
love that you guys switched now to public, because from a marketing perspective, if folks are in Canva, they can now find our artwork, which has the information about our show on it. So I love that you guys are very forward thinking about the user experience, not just from graphics, but from marketing as well. So talk to us a little bit maybe about Canva and the big vision for Canva.
The big vision for Canva is that we democratize design, and so that everybody can add great graphics to their whatever, their blog posts, their social media, their email, their flyers, their real estate, their book cover, all of that. We that's the big picture. We want to democratize design.
Were you drawn to Canva because of your own deficiencies in graphic design? Are you artsy at all?
I'm not artsy at all, not one iota, not one iota.
And I
So
love that even the stuff to pay is $1, right? So that's even
yeah,
great.
I mean that you really have to work hard to pay us money. We're
I've
not
never paid you money. I'm not a good customer in that regard,
yeah.
but
What can
I
I
will talk
say?
about
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's hard. If you upload your own graphics, your own pictures, you will literally never pay us money.
It's true, and it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful and so user friendly. It's really a great experience. I appreciate it. I
Oh,
really do.
great.
So I'm going to ask you one last question,
Okay.
but I'm going to ask you first, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience, thinking of you're speaking with an audience of people of color and women and folks who may not feel that they would have access to people like you. And so do you have any sort of words of wisdom for them as they're looking for mentorship and folks to help them build their own business or career or achieve their own dreams?
One piece of advice I'd have for everybody is social media is not a fad. Social media equals marketing. You need to get on social media. It's unavoidable for your personal branding and positioning and success. And I recently came out with a book called The Art of Social Media. And sorry, my dog's barking.
It's okay.
In this book, my co-author and I, Peg Fitzpatrick, we were trying to explain, how to do social media right in a very, very tactical sense. So the book's name is called The Art of Social Media. There's a website all about it called artof.social.
Okay.
And I'll try to empower you and democratize social media for you too.
Thank you so much, Guy. I really appreciate that and your time and talking to our audience. And then I'm going to ask you the hardest question you've ever been asked.
Yeah, what's that?
What is your favorite movie or song about love and romance?
Oh my God, that is a hard
I
question.
know. That's why I
I
asked
was gonna
you.
I was gonna say Rocky, but that's not love or romance.
It really is, though. Adrian, the Adrian scene, if we're
Yeah,
talking
that's
Rocky
true.
1.
That's true.
And
My
he loves
fa-
boxing.
that's true. That's true.
And his trainer loved him. So, see, I'm
But
good at this.
but
I'm good at
quite honestly, I gotta tell you, like um, my kind of movie is typically a retired Navy SEAL. He's married, has a daughter. The wife and daughter get killed by some explosion.
Liam
The
Neeson must be your favorite actor.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. So yeah,
guessing.
so yeah, so okay. So now this Navy SEAL is like going into deep depression, hitting the bottle, and all that, just wrecked life. The president calls him up one day and says the FBI is incompetent, CIA is incompetent, NSA is incompetent. I'm going to give you a presidential pardon in advance. You don't have to worry about Miranda. You don't have to worry about due process. You don't have to worry about the Geneva Convention. Just kill all the bad guys.
Oh, my
And so this
God.
this retired Navy SEAL just starts killing all the people, and then pretty soon he falls in love, and he's not sure if this woman is a Mossad agent or a double agent, and that's my kind of movie.
Oh, my
So
God.
yeah, I hate to tell you.
I hate to tell you, you do not have a future in screenwriting. All of those movies have been written already.
Well, like at least I realize I don't have a future in screenwriting, which is different. There are a lot of people in movies who don't realize they don't have a career in screenwriting. So.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Who knows where my future may lead on the West Coast, so I'll leave that one alone. Guy, thank you so much for taking this time. I really appreciate it. Our audience appreciates it, and we look forward to sharing the entire series with you when it's all
Thank
finished.
you, thank you. I hope that I've shed a little empowerment upon your listeners. So thank you
You,
very much.
you absolutely did.
Thank you for listening. I hope you gained some valuable tools to take your business to its next level, or you got some great insider information, or just learned something new about someone maybe you'd not heard of before. I don't know. I hope this was valuable to you. I would love if you reach out to me and let me know if it's helped you in any way. My email address is michelle@herpowerhustle.com. The new podcast launches on February 1st, 2015, so I'm really excited about that. But in the meantime, if you're listening to this ebook or listening to this episode, if you've listened to this bonus before the 1st of February 2015, then definitely head over to Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation there. We have already started the conversation and we'd love for you to be part of it. That's again, you can find us at herpowerhustle.com. And if you're listening after February 1st, 2015, you can find more about us on our podcast. I'd love to hear from you. This is Michelle Talbert. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.